Call to order for the St. John study session for May 16th, 2024. Could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Beth?
Jerry Swets.
Present.
Christian Jorgensen is absent. Mike Bovat.
Here.
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
Ann Oster.
Present.
Bill Manasopoulos.
Here.
Joe Svetnoff.
Here.
And Beth Hernandez, present.
Thank you. Item 3, Suncrest Church, proposed zone change from R2 PUD to C2, southwest corner of church property. Billy?
So this came with a favorable recommendation. Mr. Viz is here to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Attorney Nathan Viss here on behalf of Suncrest Church. So this is a continuation of the development of the approximate 20 acres that are located near Park Place. Previously, to get an amendment to the ordinance from 2004 to allow for a second church to be located in this vicinity. And there's 4.86 acres that are directly adjacent to the existing oral surgery facility, as well as dental offices. And my clients recognize that this land wasn't necessary for the proposed church that we're looking to build. Realize that it's in the overlay district, the 231 overlay district that was established several years ago that wants to promote commercial development, and recognizing that this had the R2 PUD designation from 2004, we came before the BZA last evening requesting a zone change to C2 to enable this to meet the intended overlay district. So we presented a variety of things last evening, showed the financial benefit that's going to be given to the town, approximately $1.2 million in TIF revenue over 10 years. We do have a right turn-in lane that's part of the future processes, but we do have state approval for a turn-in lane there that's going to assist with any traffic flow through the area. There were a variety of concerns raised last evening, but as we shared on the record last night, that's all part of the future processes for site plan development. So we're only here seeking a rezone from R2 PUD to C2.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that?
So there's going to be in and out. Is there going to be an extra lane there for deceleration? Is it a right turn in, right turn out only? What are the details of that?
Sure, good question, Mr. Swets. So the initial question that we just raised with the state last fall was, if this is to be developed, what, if any, allowance would you put here, recognizing that Park Place is right down the street? And what the state has indicated is what they would allow for here would be a right turn-in lane only. They're not looking for anything to cut left across traffic. As far as a turn-in deacceleration lane, that hasn't been discussed yet. But in order to cut anything into 231, we'd have to comply with the state requirements. I would anticipate, for example, with the St. John Commons, we had to do a deacceleration lane. That may be a requirement. So I would anticipate their engineers would require that, but I can't state for certain.
So that's not necessarily part of your development as much as it is what the state's going to require.
Exactly, exactly. That's part of their state right-of-way. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was going to ask too, so would it be a little bit familiar with the subway and doctor's office just a little bit west of there? I know there they have just a right turn only, and that's what you're saying would be similar to that?
That's what the state has indicated to us in writing. If you need to, I can go back and pull that communication, but that's what their engineers had indicated to us last summer, fall, when we approached them on this.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Viss.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Item 4, LBL Development LLC, proposed zone change from C2 to PUD, the Gates Units 29, 30, and 31. Mr. Kill?
Yes, I don't know if, Ashley, you want to put the site plan on the board, or, I think it might still be in the computer for last night. It was up there for about 3 hours. So, and I believe everybody has a binder also that has the renderings in it and all of that, and the zoning commitments, PUD guidelines, everything that actually is being proposed. So this actually is at the southeast corner of 231 and Parish. As everybody knows, we can start with the intersection of Parish there. The state is actually putting a roundabout in there, so that will be coming. They're going to let the project in '25. It will be under construction in '26. And that's what NDOT has told us. We actually had a meeting with NDOT and their design engineers in our office, and they provided us with all the right-of-way that they propose on taking. They still have to do a take on this property, which is not a problem. We're going to cooperate 100% with NDOT, so whatever take they need of right-of-way, we're simply going to cooperate with. The project is going to extend down Parish. We're going to match up with NDOT's project. So Parish is going to be greatly improved right there at the intersection. It's going to be widened out quite a bit. I think everybody will be surprised when they see it. So there's going to be a giant traffic circle there, and that's going to help a lot. So that will be under construction in '26. So that's definitely coming. They're going to put another roundabout at Klein Avenue. So we're going to have a roundabout at Parish and a roundabout at Klein. Those are 1 mile apart, almost exactly. Now, we're showing on the drawing, we're actually showing a roundabout at Park Place. We're making the assumption with the state, and we talked to them about this, that if you're going to have a roundabout at Parish and one at Klein, it's reasonable to assume you're probably going to put one there, and in favor of a traffic signal. You know, NDOT seems to be gravitating towards these, obviously, more and more. If they're putting the two big intersections, we can't imagine that there eventually won't be one at Park Place. In 2005, we tried to construct a traffic signal at Park Place, and the state refused to let us do it because it didn't meet the warrants. The reason there's nothing there now is that everybody, says there's a lot of traffic, but it still doesn't meet the NDOT warrants for a signal, or they would be putting one in now. It's incumbent upon them to do it. The town's waited almost 20 years to actually do that signal, and now it's up to the state. Similar situation that Nathan's in. We're proposing 3 right-in, right-outs on 231. So having done numerous NDOT projects and being in the middle of a couple right now with the state, there's no question they're going to require XL decel lanes. So if this configuration of 3 right-in, right-outs, that's almost going to necessitate, in our opinion, another full lane on 231. So we are prepared to comply with whatever NDOT requires. And my guess is, instead of doing a bunch of these, it's almost easier just to put another lane, and then people who want to turn can get off in that lane. They're out of the through lane of traffic. So we're anticipating that that's what NDOT's going to come up with. So that's kind of what they have going on there. This plan right here now is going to be built in conjunction with the state plans. So we are actually proposing residential that is going to back up to Mill Creek as opposed to having full commercial site, because I believe the general consensus is you don't want to look at the back of a building that's a concrete wall with trash compactors back there and dumpsters and that's really not what you want to see if you're in a residential community. You like to be buffered by residential. So hopefully that will accomplish that, and that is important to support the commercial component of the project. The commercial component of the project will obviously front on 231 as we're proposing right in the plan, but the unique thing is the building, since we're trying to create outdoor seating and almost like a little downtown Main Street area, you're going to see that the front of the buildings and the back of the buildings are going to be just as inviting. You're not going to have a true back of a building. We envision that, and we're guessing the town council is going to want kind of a double frontage where it's just as inviting to enter from the south as it is from the north in the regular parking lot. The road that is going between the commercial and the residential, if if everybody can picture this, those parking stalls are 10 foot by 20 foot. So starting from the south against the residential, you have 20 foot of width, of depth in a parking stall. Then you have a 12-foot lane. Then you have another 12-foot lane. Then you have another 20 foot. It's over the equivalent of building 4 lanes of road. But the one thing that we kind of wanted to show to everybody is that we know just from experience, and everybody kind of knows this, any downtown you ever go to, Highland, Cherville, Crown Point, the biggest thing is everybody's fighting for parking. If you want to even go to lunch at one of the restaurants, you got to park somewhere over by the police and fire station. This project will have more parking than they could, hopefully, than they need. But, you know, we want to make sure that it's inviting for people, that they don't have to try to find a spot somewhere else and try to get to businesses, you know, or restaurants, things that the community actually wants. So, and the walkability of it seems to be extremely important. The residential will be surrounded by sidewalks, fronts, the residential will front out on both sides, and there will be sidewalks around the entire thing. Up Parish, we're gonna connect to NDOT's plan, so this will be completely walkable. Everybody will have access to all of these businesses and will be able to walk there. And from just a few of the commercial people we talked to, they've seen the plan when it came up on the screen. They said, well, that's great, but if we're gonna go there, we need a captive audience like this, because we don't meet in St. John right now the demographics that we need to get everything that we want, especially to the west and to the east and to the south of here. That's why other communities seem to capture those type of businesses, and we can't because we simply don't have the demographic for it. But this walkability will promote that downtown in that kind of downtown feel. So in the documents here, we are prepared and we're proposing that the town council have complete review authority over all of the commercial development. Meaning, you get to pick what you want, and you get to pick what it looks like. So that's the and the Plan Commission, it's a little difficult for them to understand that concept because it's never been done before, but this is, nobody's ever tried to build a little downtown before either. And that's what we're doing. So we are granting the town council complete review authority over this. So if you want restaurants, which I think we all have the same goal here, we all know what the town needs. And you know, Mike, we've talked and you've campaigned and you know what people are asking for. So now's the opportunity for the town council to get what they want and to be built. So that's kind of the overall proposal that we're presenting. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I think the important part of that is that here's the cooperative effort with the town, where you kind of get to pick and choose for commercial development. Now, obviously, we can, you know, people that approach us, we obviously would bring them forward to the town. You could review that, decide if this is a business you want and, you know, what kind of building you would want. Because we told the Plan Commission that the Plan Commission still retains all of their review authority, meaning platting of the property. They retain site plan approval, they retain design, you know, basically interior design, and we don't even know that this would lay out like this, exactly, because we don't know what kind of businesses or restaurants we can attract. Hopefully some of them are freestanding, hopefully that they are some of our local entrepreneurs, restaurateurs we can get in. You know, this would seem to be very attractive to them. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
I was curious on a couple of points, and maybe Billy, you could help out, but like, when you talk about Parish, you're saying 2026, has the state indicated, is that like beginning of 26, maybe summertime? Is there any kind of ideal at all?
You know what, since the project will be let in 25, I mean, when they let the project, they let it to bid. They are planning on starting construction as soon as they can. because
Probably in spring, Steve, wouldn't you?
yeah, they want to get through this project in the construction season. The one thing you don't want to do is have this all messed up and tore up over the winter, when you're trying to plow the road and people are trying to drive. So I had a feeling the state's really going to try to get this done in that one season. So I expect them fully to start in the spring, Mike.
Okay. And then on the commercial, have you had any feel for businesses or?
You know, we've kind of the word on the street, if you will, is that we are concentrating on restaurants. We want restaurants where they will accommodate outdoor seating, just as we're showing here, and that's kind of the goal. And I think that would be the goal of the town council too. You know, obviously, you're not going to have 130,000 square foot of restaurants, but if you can anchor this with some nice restaurants, then you'll get some nicer businesses perhaps that you would like to see, you know, infill there. You know,
Higher level franchise restaurants.
well, I don't know that we don't meet the demographics for national franchises, really.
More regional franchise.
Yeah, more regional, Joe, local. You know, the best example I can give is, you know, we have the Avgo guys here. They've done a wonderful job. They understand the local market. It's almost people that understands the local market. You know, so hopefully that between the two of us, the town and us, we can attract these businesses and bring them in front of the council, you know, to discuss what the needs are and what the wants are. And, you know, John has agreed to 100% participate in this and hold the property if necessary to accommodate the goals of the community.
And are there plans, do you know what type of plans you have for like the homes per se?
Yes, I have actually, I have that right here. Is that the recent one?
No, this isn't the newer copy that you.
Is that the one with that wasn't printed out on my junky copier?
That was the old printer.
Here, I'll put a copy up on the dais here, Mike. I know it.
That's what we have. That's the one we have up here.
The residential is 2 stories in height. It will have, in the fronts that will be facing each way, it will have black fencing in the front yards. We tried to get like a same theme. I know a lot of people over the years have liked what they saw in Crown Point with the little black fences in the front yards and
Right.
things like that. So that's what we're trying to mirror. There will be the sidewalk in front of all of them, surrounding the entire project. And you see the curb there. That curb will actually have perpendicular parking that will service not only the residential, but primarily the commercial. So nobody has to walk, you know, to actually get to the businesses when they drive there. But this is the proposal, and the buildings will be separated. 8 units, there will be a minimum of 20 feet per building. Everybody will have access through each building. So if you look at the site plan, every one of those has an access through it. Now, the front of the units, admittedly, will probably be used for trick-or-treaters, because everybody enters through the back of their unit, so all of the actual traffic is contained within
I just get.
the units.
When you say the back of the unit, are you saying the north is what you envision the back?
Well, the back of the units, so these right here, these are the backs.
Okay,
These are all the fronts, right here, around. So everybody who lives here will enter their garage here or the back of their home. So all of that traffic will be contained to the interior of this, as well as the trash, you know, things like that. There will be nothing visible from the front except landscaping and the front of each unit. So all this parking right here, I don't know, let's say this person has a party right here. Well, there's ample parking for any guest. Each unit will have 4 spaces, but for any guest, that's another reason you see all of this parking, just hundreds of spaces, so That was the goal, to make sure there was absolutely no issue with any parking anywhere for both commercial and residential. So that's how this is set up. And like I said, this right here is designed of a width. I know it's hard to visualize, but the width of the pavement will be farther from that wall to that. I mean, you're talking a lot of area because of the parking and the two 12-foot lanes.
Steve, are the garages attached in these units?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Everything's attached.
And one other question, like what's the price point on, what are you thinking something like this is?
Over 300. I don't know exactly right now, but it will be north of it. Everything, I almost can't get anything in St. John for. St. John is a north of 300 community and north of 400, so I got a feeling that although you know, this is not going to be an age targeted or an age restricted, but places like this is someplace that, hey, I just had a granddaughter. My kids are gone. I would live here. Young people would love to live here because they want access to the businesses and restaurants. And probably one of the most important parts of this development is the way we plan on phasing it. So that was one of the concerns. So what we're going to do is when we plat this, we're going to plat this all at once right here. So this section of residential and commercial will run at the same time because the businesses need to see that, hey, we are actually building these. So if you build here, you're going to start immediately with a captive audience. So it's important that these be done in blocks like this. So you have one here, we're envisioning one here, and then one here. And let's hope we have enough activity and enough people want to come to this town that we can actually do that quickly. But on something like this build out, the traffic circles and the improvements 231 will be done in advance of this. I'm certain of it because this just takes time to build.
That roundabout on Park Place, are you guys going to put that in, or who's going to be
We
doing
just,
that?
like I said, and we are just assuming that's what the state is going to want to do there. We don't know, but we found it reasonable to make that assumption, given there's a traffic circle on one end and one on the other. Why would you drop a traffic signal in the middle? You know, the whole idea is to keep traffic flowing, so it doesn't make any sense you would do that, so. But NDOT has not made a determination on that yet.
And would that be NDOT putting it in, or would it be the town?
At this point, I'm sure it would be NDOT, but in true NDOT form, I'm sure we would definitely be cooperating with them with right-of-way, you know, and stuff like that, and which we fully expect, and that's just a given when you develop. Everybody that develops understands that, and works with NDOT, works with town, so we are prepared to do that, yes. Just like we told them on Parrish. What do you guys need? You need temporary easements, you want to relocate the pole line, which is NIPSCO is doing now, and when we met with them, we said, hey, how much do you need? Well, let's do it once and do it right. He said, we'll give you all the easement or temporary right-of-way, you know, easement you need. Let's just do it and do it right once.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, so you kind of illustrated the parking for like units 2 through 13 with the extra parking. That's the top ones. Is there extra parking for the bottom ones as well?
Jerry, there's enough extra parking up there for anybody that may need it.
But it's all on
It's
the
all
other side.
on the main, yes, it's all on that main road, that is correct, so.
But there's walkways through between the buildings, is that?
Well, and if you look here, every one of these is a way through.
Okay.
So if you park here, the odds are you're gonna enter through the rear of the home here, or they could go through a front door, I guess. But anybody that wanted to go here would park here and go like this. So the parking then could be in front of the units where you're not parking here and having to walk down here. There's an entrance here between every unit, all the units.
There'd be a sidewalk then in between those buildings.
Yeah, that's access to between, yeah.
Okay. And then what is the square footage of all these units?
The minimum square
Residence.
foot, I don't want to make sure I quoted incorrectly. 1 second, please. Those are in the PUD guidelines, which is in the book you have, so let me pull those out real quick. A minimum of 1,350 square foot per unit. Maximum, 2 stories. Nobody, including me, wants to walk up a bunch of stairs anymore. I'm getting too old, now that I'm a grandpa.
What, escalators or in, or elevators?
Now that I'm a grandpa, so.
Okay.
So you've got 210 residential units in 12 acres.
That is accurate, yes.
That 12 acres, does that include the 4 lanes of road that you're putting through?
The 4 lanes of road,
Like the 2 lanes for parking and whatever?
I don't remember, Jerry, I'm sorry. I simply don't remember. I know that the parking and that road, as each section is platted, that road is going to be built right away with everything. So when I blocked off the areas that would be built, that road's going to be built. Now, that being said, if we have a business that wants to go farther towards the middle or whatever, I guess we might plat that and put the road all the way to that business, because what we don't want to do is lose anybody that is somebody good for the town. So we're gonna, a lot of this is kind of dependent on what the town council, you know, who comes forward or who we can bring forward. It's just, that's why the unknown here makes it an ideal project to cooperate on, because we all want the same thing.
Absolutely.
So, go ahead. I got some more notes I'm pulling.
So
together.
then it sounds like the developer's putting in the water main. And
Absolutely.
if that street is gonna be all the way across instead of having the turn only, right turn only, they're probably gonna put that in, because probably faster and quicker to do that than it is to, and maybe cheaper.
To do what, Wayne?
To do along the road, along 231 would be, like, maybe they're gonna add another lane?
Oh,
Hey, you guys are gonna do that?
fully expect NDOT to make us do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Or they're gonna tell us we need to put a decel lane and XL lane on the side of each entrance. Well, when you have those entrances, by the time you do that, you might as well build another lane.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to keep moving in and out, it just confuses people. So the thought was, we know what's gonna happen because of the other projects that we did with, we've done with NDOT. So we fully expect that when we apply for the driveway permits, this is what's gonna happen, Wayne. I mean, and not only that, by the time they take the parish roundabout and the number of lanes way towards the east, they're going to set the stage for kind of how that's gonna look. So we are, that's why we met with them. So we made sure we had reasonable expectations and realistic expectations about what would be required. So that's a huge undertaking, by the way. Anytime you try to add lanes on the state highway, wow.
So ultimately, with these 3 other entrances, that they could all the way back to the residential? So they could be additional entrances, correct?
Yeah, we fully expect that people would probably take advantage of that. People could take advantage, obviously, there's gonna be, on Parish, it's gonna be very wide to get to the entrance to come in. The pinch point, as was pointed out last night, is actually Mill Creek. There's no room to widen anything there, so that's actually gonna be a pinch point based upon the design of the traffic signal. So we're gonna pick up, when NDOT widens that intersection, as they come down, we're just gonna pick it up. And again, this will all be, this is where obviously the planning commission comes in too, because they're gonna have the NDOT plans, we're going to match them up, that's the whole review of plating too, in front of the planning commission. And that's what I explained to the board last night. I said, even though we're giving all the review authority here to the town council, once the town council says, yeah, okay, this is good, we still got a bunch of work to do around the plan commission to actually get this platted and built. And they asked me, how do I said, I anticipate going to the town council and getting an approval before we go to the plan commission. Before anything's built. You know, we'll do the dirt work, primary plat, everything, do all the dirt work, build all the commercial pads is basically one long pad. So where anybody wants to go, it'll be built for them. But as far as building any buildings, that has to come here first before that goes to the plan commission for any final plat, or site plan, or any, all the requirements that are needed.
Very good.
So 210 units, that comes to about 17 per acre?
So that would be about 17.35
Yeah.
acre if you're just looking at the 12.1. If you were to look at the entirety of the 3.59, because the typical standard calculation for density is the total buildable area when it comes to that. So if you do the 210 divided by the 35.9, overall the density for that section would be 5.8. But if you're looking at only the area the townhomes are going to be built on, then yes, that's that density.
That's exactly what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Because density,
No, it's, if you look at it that way, Jerry, you're absolutely correct. I mean, but
so what would make you
that's why we're
think,
proposing the PUD.
right, I understand that zoning wise, but what makes you think that, in the past, like when we did a mixed usage on the other side of town, we wouldn't even allow them to have duplexes. So what makes you think that you're going to be able to put 210 units in here?
Well, because I'm making a fairly unique proposal. Over there on the other side of town, they're not giving you review authority of the commercial either. We are. We are subordinating this property upon the review of the town council. So it is possible that this property, and if we don't find a use the town likes, it may take 4 years. We don't get to build on it for 4 years. It has to sit. So unlike everybody else that's doing these, they get to go ahead, build their commercial buildings, and go ahead and put anybody in there they want. That's not the case here. So we don't have the ability to do that. And we recognize that, but the businesses that we're trying to attract here are going to want a captive residential audience. And we've been, in the limited number of people we've talked to, said that's exactly what we need. You don't have any population in the south. Until you get to Crown Point, you have nothing. So we're not meeting any of the demographics that typically, restaurateurs would look towards. So we needed to figure out a way to build a downtown where you have a captive residential audience that could frequent these businesses that they could count on. Because we don't know how else to attract them here. And that's why you see the proposal you do, Jerry. It's more of a downtown proposal.
And I have to tell you, in my 20-plus years of practicing law in planning and building, I've never seen a proposal such as this where the town council has ultimate authority to render a tenant either viable or non-viable according to what the town council thinks. It's very unique, but in a good way. Because it gives the town council ultimate control on what comes in.
I hope we don't make all the other commercial people mad, because nobody wants to do this. We're in the position where we think this is the one chance St. John has, and I've been trying to do it for 30 years here and been listening to it. They're like, why don't we have a downtown area? Why don't we have an area where you can walk to restaurants? I've listened to it over and over. Everybody says, well, let's do that on 93rd. Let's do that on Joliet Street. That ship has sailed. We have a chance to build it now, and build it correctly with the parking necessary. So this is and Jerry, I guess that goes to your question. That's why this is so unique. This is by far not your standard proposal for a PUD residential and commercial development. We definitely have to create a captive audience here. This site is going to be extraordinarily expensive. I mean, ridiculously expensive by the time you take the 231 require, the state highway roads and everything. It's a lot. So the uniqueness of the project, Jerry, is why you see what you do in front of you.
And then my final question deals with the HOA. Is this, it stands on its own HOA, or is it gonna roll into the Gates HOA, like,
Stands on its own.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
My other comment would be, you're not going to get a franchise from across the country like Olive Garden and that to come in, because like you had said, Steve, the demographics, they draw a circle, what is it, 1.5 miles, 2 miles?
3 and 5.
How many houses? So if you go south, there is nothing.
No, nothing.
Or hardly anything. So with this, if I was a person that had a restaurant, hey, I've got so many houses plus the neighborhood that can come, these people can walk across the way. It's probably what everybody's asking for. Where are the houses at? And they're right there.
Well,
They're
and-
almost
and-
on top of the,
And you know what else is gonna probably make this a little more attractive? I don't know if, and I should know this because I've been at every council meeting just about, but the golf cart ordinance. I've heard rumblings, people are like, oh, this would be really cool. We don't really have to drive over there. We can, and even the people from Mill Creek or whatever, they can walk if they want. The traffic circle at Parish has provisions for sidewalks all through it, and we're gonna connect to all of them. So it's as walkable as it possibly can be.
Is there any way to make the gates walkable across?
Manbeth, I don't know. I mean, maybe if there's the only thing that I thought of is if we could, when there's an improvement done at Park Place, I mean, getting across 231's like the age-old question of we always had, how do you get across 41 safely?
Well, the only thing potentially you could do, I've seen this done in other communities potentially, is a pedestrian bridge, but getting approval for a pedestrian
Oh.
bridge across 231 would be.
Well, in the, anyway, so yeah, you're right, but that's just, who knows? I've not seen that as a really viable option.
It's an alternative.
I mean, obviously you have your crosswalks, you have your push-button signals, you have your things like that. NDOT actually installed one at 97th, so people could walk across to get to Target. Very few people ever do it. You know, we're just not set up as that friendly. We're bisected by state highways. Just like the question, Sheriff always had. They're bisected by Route 30 and Route 41. How do you safely maneuver across those roadways? We're bisected by 231 and 41. So, like you said, the answer is as walkable as it can be. So,
Anything else? All right, thank you on that one, Mr. Kill.
Just to let you know, this did receive no recommendation from the planning commission last year.
Thank you, Ashley.
yeah, the general consensus was, well, the town council is getting review authority over everything. Let them deal with it.
Understood. Item 5, LBL Development LLC, proposed rezone from R1 to RC2, the White Oak subdivision.
Yes, this was also discussed at length last night. The proposal that was presented was a maximum of 116 units on 40 acres. There's really not much more to it than that. This site is kind of uniquely located. It's close to a lot of different things for the town. It's close to 231. There's been talk about putting a roundabout there at White Oak. Who knows, Billy? I mean, it's been in the plan. So there's a lot of things going on. We know that there was some interest also from the community here, but the proposal that was made last night was 116 acres or 116 units on 40 acres, which is the theoretical density of your base CAR 2. And the point of the request of the zoning of R2 instead of just a normal PUD as the previous project was because that gives everybody a sense of, okay, this is single family. That's the only thing the proposal was, nothing more. That's the point of the R2 in front of it. And the zoning ordinance contemplates that, because RC2 is Residential Conservation District. And what that really means is that, hey, if you chop this piece of property up into squares, you can get this many units, but let's save some property, keep it set aside, put that many units over here. Same density, just different configuration.
Any questions, comments?
This also received a no recommendation from the Plan Commission last.
And we do know the town uses this property for fireworks, and, you know, this is important to the town, too. So,
Okay,
we know that the town's interested,
yes.
obviously, and, you know, maybe Mike, you can speak to that, but what,
Yeah, so I was just going to comment too, that four members of this council who recently took office have been passionate about the expansion of our parks and recreational opportunities for the residents of our community. A combination of these four members approached the developer in an effort to acquire this 40 acres for the town after several months of discussion, hard work, and collaboration between both parties. We have come to a tentative agreement where I think the developer is going to be willing to donate this property to the town. Is that still going to be an option, Mr. Kill?
yes, what you said is accurate. And this has been, that's something that's been contemplated. You know, nobody's really ever acted on it until recently. And everything you said, I can confirm is accurate, yes. So the likelihood of building a subdivision here is not very good.
Right, and,
But like you said, the reason we're requesting a zone change is because we have a tentative agreement. So, you know, if for some reason that doesn't happen, which there's no reason to assume it won't, but that's the only point of the zone change, so.
and we appreciate you working with the town council very much. And I think this would be a beautiful asset to the community. We look forward of doing something positive for the town. Parks and opportunities are just going to be on that site. And like you said, the town has been using it. Beth, like for the July 4th, don't they do a lot of stuff there? I mean, honestly, I haven't
Fireworks
been
off
there. But, yeah, this is just a great opportunity for the town.
And it's important to know that the property, should it be turned over, will be turned over free and clear with no encumbrances, meaning the town can do with it as they please.
Beautiful. Well, we want to continue down that path, Mr. Kill.
We will continue to work towards that diligently and quickly as we can, so.
Thank you for that.
And I'll be working with, obviously, Joe, I would imagine, the attorney on this. I mean,
Correct.
I couldn't imagine who else I'd work with. It would have to be a town attorney.
Yes. Any questions or comments on that? Thank you, Mr. Kill. Greatly
Thank you,
appreciate it.
everybody.
Item 6, Family Express annexation.
So this is the this is the southwest corner of US 41 and 231. Representatives for Family Express have shown some interest in that property. They have gone through the steps of an annexation petition. All the necessary documents have been filed, and they'll have a public hearing here on May 22nd.
Billy, have you been approached, or has anybody else reached out for that area or that location? Have you received any interest?
Prior to the petitioner now?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Wayne, do you guys recall doing anything previously? Okay. All right, thank you for that. Billy, item 7, cleaning contract.
So this is just a add-on to the contract that you've already approved. in their proposal, when they were giving an estimate, they did not add the booking area in the police department and also a hallway and a kitchen. So we'd like to amend that contract for an amount of $240 more per month to cover those areas also.
You said 240?
Yes.
Any questions or comments? All right, moving to item 8, Lamar Billboard Proposal.
The representatives had a scheduling conflict, so this will be deferred for this meeting and placed on a future meeting.
Item 9, donation, St. John Training Site. Billy?
So this is the $15,000 that the town donates to the volunteer department. They've done it, Beth, maybe you can help me, for how many years now? Yeah.
Well before 2016.
Okay, there you go. So it's just the usual $15,000 that the town donates to the volunteers.
Any questions or comments on that? Thank you. Item 10, Ordinance 1829, establishing a Waterworks Cash Reserve Fund. Billy?
So I will turn this over to Beth for the dates that were before us.
Sure. So in 2020, the town council, at one of the council meetings, they defeased the Waterworks Cash Reserve Fund. Per our last State Board of Accounts audit, which occurred, I believe, in 2022, we were told we needed to reestablish this fund. It just has yet to happen, and so I'm bringing it back to the forefront that this fund needs to be reestablished.
And when you're saying in 2022, can you, like, was that?
It's in 2020, I
2020?
think, yeah. Was it 2020 or was it 2020?
The audit was
Oh.
2022,
So-
but the
And the
fund was...
state was requesting,
So what happened is, in 2020, the town council performed a inter-fund temporary loan, let's say, where they took $2.5 million from the Waterworks Utility Fund and transferred it temporarily for a term not to exceed 5 years to the Sewer Utility Fund. By law, that transfer has to, and I'm going to use the word pass through, but it has to, basically pass through a cash reserve fund. But for a reason unbeknownst to me, during this same exact transaction, they defeased that cash reserve fund, meaning they took it off the books. So that fund was not in existence to allow it to pass through. So when State Board came in 2022, they said, although the funds went from where they were supposed to go, from the Waterworks Utility Fund to the Sewer Utility Fund, they didn't pass through the cash reserve fund. So they made it from point A to point C without passing point B. So this was told to the council and myself and the Waterworks Board in 2022, but we have to take corrective action. We can't just leave it sit.
Correct, we probably should have taken corrective action in 2022.
It was recommended-
When it was brought to our attention. by the State
Correct.
Board of
In
Accounts.
2022, I kept knocking on the door. In 2023, okay, now we're in 2024, so we just simply need to reestablish the fund.
Because if we don't reestablish the
gonna
fund.
ask you, what's the
we're gonna-
jeopardy?
We're gonna get dinged next time the State Board of Accounts comes in, because they're gonna look at their former comments and say you've taken no corrective action, hence, we have a problem now.
Right, so the previous council was dinged in 2022. If it's not corrected, you get dinged. Likely we'll have an audit this year, you'll get dinged in 2024.
okay, yeah, well, let's expedite that. Thank you, thank you, Beth. Any questions or comments on that? Item 11, license and agreement with Harry A. and Catherine A. Snell and LBL Development for the Freedom Fest fireworks display and related activities. Billy?
This is a duplicate from the past. We've always asked permission from LBL Development and the Snell family to allow us to have our fireworks show on their property.
I think that's pretty clean. Any questions, comments? Number 11, license and agreement with Harry A. Oh, I got that one already, sorry. Item 12, BZA recommendations, A, DMK Senior Residence and Memorial Care Development and associated outlots use variance. Meadow Wall Street LLC petitioner, favorable recommendation from the BZA. Gotcha.
Kevin Hunt, Schilling Development, representing the petitioner, Meadow Wall Street LLC. I'm here today with our engineer, James Huss from DVG. I believe he's passing out the most recent renderings we've received from DMK about their proposed project. This was previously in front of the BZA for both developmental variances and use and special exception variances. The development variances were approved. Obviously, the use and the special exception variances come to the town council. I think the use variance for a senior residence and memory care facility received a favorable recommendation from the BZA. There was no recommendation on the request to have an outdoor parking garage tied to the facility. And that was because they wanted to leave it to the town council. This was at a previous study session in front of the town council as well as a public meeting. My understanding was that more information was needed, and I believe James provided a little bit more detail. Obviously, we're not at the platting stage yet, but this senior living facility wants to make sure they've got the variances they need. We're going to move forward with a primary plat. One of the exceptions that would hold up the primary plat is whether they'd be allowed an accessory structure for parking. And this is really for a limited number of residences that would need it. Most of the residents at this facility don't drive. But it will affect how the plat lays out. So, and I think James can discuss a little bit.
And if I could add a couple more things specific to the accessory structure. The development did receive a variance to orientate the building not facing 41. It will face Wall Street. On Patterson, there is a heavily wooded area. The accessory structure will be on the west side of the building. My apologies for not having an illustration up right now, but the accessory structure will be almost exclusively invisible from US 41. It will be kind of hidden in the back. I would contend that you'd hardly even know it is there.
From Patterson, it will be blocked by the trees that are currently existing right now.
Obviously, that will be a one-story structure. The building is a three-story structure, so it'll be almost completely blocked out.
How many bays, or I want to say bays, how many garages do you anticipate?
I don't have the number handy. I believe it's in the neighborhood of 20.
Okay.
So my concern is always, what is this going to look like in our commercial corridor? Although it seems to be set back, and it's going to be blocked quite a bit by the bridge, how much of this is actually going to be visible from 41? Can you answer that? Like on this diagram we're looking at, where does the bridge actually finish?
I had to estimate from about here north, you have about a 50% exclusion of the face of the building.
Okay.
And then it becomes more visible as you hit this wing.
Okay.
The main building is a three-story building, and the garage will be just one story.
Correct. And then we did receive a very minor variance on the building height. It was truly 2 to 3 feet over the ordinance amount. That was, the height of the building does mirror all similar facilities that you see in Dyer, even in St. John.
Any other questions or comments?
You said that most of the people don't drive, and so what do you need a garage for?
So as our client did present, when we did bring the variances up, quite frankly, many of the residents that even do still hold driver's license, there's almost an attachment thing when it comes to the cars. They rarely move, but some residents prefer to pay the extra amount to keep a car there just for the semblance of independence. The developer is, it's almost like a marketing thing more than anything else.
How many units are proposed for this, for living?
Do you have that handy? I'm sorry. I know it's over 100. They have three different wings to the facility. They do have a full memory care wing, and then a full autonomous wing, and then I believe one level in between those two stages.
I think it was right around 109.
Thank you. That sounds
110.
about right. Thank you. Thank you.
Just real fast, so that parking structure being closed, or is it open?
No, it's fully enclosed, segregated garage doors for each, rentable unit.
Any other questions, comments? Okay,
The garage, you might have said this, it's going to resemble the style of the building itself?
Yes, full expectation that its architectural motif will be in conjunction with the larger structure.
Okay.
all right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item C, therapeutic massage and spa studio, special exception. Alejandra Nieves, petitioner, favorable recommendation from the BZA.
So this one is, she is requesting a special exception for the use of a personal service use in the US 41 and overlay district in a C2 commercial highway zone. She is wanting to put in a therapeutic massage and spa studio. It did receive a favorable recommendation from the BZA.
Questions, comments?
Where is this located?
This
No, go ahead.
86717 Wicker Avenue.
It's next to the animal clinic. It's a White House, I think.
Oh, okay, okay.
And it shares a space with two other businesses. And
Any other questions, comments? All right. With that, we'll move to item D. Home Soul Body Collective LLC, special exception. Rebecca Morgan, petitioner, favorable recommendation from the BZA.
So similar to the last one, she is requesting a special exception from the town for a personal service uses for a yoga studio in a C2 zoning district as well as the US 41 overlay district. This is going to be located at 9190 Worker Avenue.
And what does that buy, or like the location, do we know?
You know where the ATM is? Off of Wall Street, it was there.
Yeah,
It's a house, they knocked down a house, and it's a house next to that was a business, and they were gonna make it into a brewery and whatever, and that worked out. Lang Roofing was there. It's a grayish, bluish house, I think.
I know what you're talking that way.
If you'd like, I can get it pulled up actually. So this dark blue portion is where it's going to be located, and across it looks like of 93rd, here's your Walgreens right here. So it's going to be about 2 parcels north of Walgreens.
Very good. Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions, comments on that? Item 13, Gates Phase 1 change order.
Hello, Dave Schilling, Robinson Engineering. Just want to give some background on all of the Gates Park project going back to April of 2023. We had some changes going back and forth with the previous park director. Originally, our direction was to do the entire park in one phase in 2023. That would have been the pickleball courts, tennis, basketball, the skate park lighting, the completion of the walking trail, and like a tournament grade soccer field. Then around June, we were told just to bid the walking path because the CDBG grant that was going to pay for the south end of the walking path needed to be spent right away. So they pulled out everything else. They said to, the Parks Director said that the soccer field would immediately follow the path. So the soccer field, like I said, was a tournament-grade soccer field. That's special sod, special soil, bring it in, raise it. Everything from the park was going to drain north through the soccer field. So we didn't have any provisions to drain the south end when we bid the project in October. Now that we're doing the pickleball without the soccer field, we need to create a drainage swale and a pipe between the pickleball and the south path that's currently under constructed with Phase 1. So we need to put in that pipe and the swale to drain to the wetland area, you know, where the power lines are. So we received a change order request from Site Services for $38,230 to include that pipe, the outfall, and the catch basin to pick up everything.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, Dave, and I don't have, I'm sorry, I don't have it from, what was the cost there? The reason why we switched it and went to the pickleball and didn't concentrate everything on the soccer field? I know that we had spoken, it was not enough use to put that much money in there.
Yeah, the issue was, obviously, the tournament grade soccer field is extremely expensive with bringing in the special soil.
Right.
It was determined that the soccer field, as it is now for practices for local games, is just fine. So that was pushed to a future phase to be determined. So at this point, it's a kind of a if or when sort of thing, if that soccer field would ever come in.
Any other questions, comments?
People want pickleball.
They do love pickleball. It's true.
Crown Point's got all kinds of pickleball courts.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave. Item 14, adjournment.
Before we adjourn, Mr. President, with the anticipation that depending on your guys' decision, how to move or where we're going to move with some of this commercial development, after the next meeting, I have a couple of people who'd like to come in and let us interview them for help on potential clients and everything else. But just to let you guys know that's on the horizon.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Billy. All right.